Well, the war in Syria, of course, created one of the biggest refugee crises in the world, with millions of Syrians forced to find refuge abroad. Many of them fled over the Syrian border into Turkey, and that's where our Andrew Hilliar is now. Andy, you've been speaking to some Syrian refugees who are desperate to finally get to go back home. What have they been telling you?
Yeah, that's right. The refugees that you can see standing behind me, these people are actually waiting to receive their authorization so they can cross back into Syrian territory. So it has been a very long wait indeed for some of them. Just to give you an idea of where we are, we're actually on the Turkish side of the border with Syria at a crossing called Onjupinar, which is just a few kilometers from Kilis here in southern Turkey. On the other side of the border in Syria is the province of Aleppo. Now, we've been speaking to a lot of refugees here waiting to cross. One refugee who has been in Turkey for 12 years, who hasn't seen his parents in that time. He originally fled to the city of Homs, where he was for 3 years, and then he fled to Turkey. And the reason he fled was because, as the only male survivor in his family, his parents told him to flee because they were scared that he would be drafted to serve in the Syrian army. His two brothers were killed. They had fought in the Free Syrian Army, of course, the rebel those rebel fighters that were renamed the Syrian National Army. We also spoke to a father and a son. They left Syria when the son was only 3 years old. So his father saying that he was desperate to go home because his son has never even seen his homeland, doesn't even know what his homeland is like. He spoke of the suffering that the Syrian regime had inflicted on his people, and he said, never did he think he would be able to experience a moment like this, the fall of the Syrian regime.
Andy, those people you're talking about are some of the roughly 3 million Syrian refugees that are in Turkey at the moment. I mean, what's the living situation been like for them there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do live in quite squalid conditions. Other people have been living with relatives in cities across Turkey. Since the fall of the Assad regime, we have seen more and more people trying to cross back into Syria. Of course, there are 3 million refugees, roughly 3 million Syrian refugees in Turkey. I've spoken to a lot of people, some Syrians who are in Istanbul, for example, who say they really want to go home. So one person I spoke to is originally from the city of Aleppo, but he says he feels that it's still too dangerous, so he's waiting for the security situation to stabilize. It's no secret, of course, that Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president, wants a lot of these Syrian refugees to go home, and to do that as well as this crossing point, Önjupinar, and another crossing point, which is west of here, Cilvegözü, where there are far more groups of Syrian refugees trying to go home. He's also announced the opening of a third crossing, that's at Yağladağ, which is in Hatay province, again to speed up and ease the return of these Syrian refugees to their homeland.
Andy, thanks so much for that. That's Andrew Hilliar reporting for us there from the Syrian-Turkish border.